experience. Then you talk with them about past significant relationships, past women or past men. And it's one disaster after another. And there's no sense of complicity on the part of this person. It's always somebody else's fault. Well, I certainly made a bad choice that time. It's always somebody else, and there's no sense of ownership, no sense of the difficulties that they bring to a particular relational dyad, or two people coming together. That, too, is a major issue. Also, people who tend to flirt and like to have all kinds of, like to put their toe in the water with the opposite sex on a regular basis, they tend to go swimming later. I want you to know that. Those relationships don't work with people who are inappropriately flirtatious. If somebody has all sorts of credit problems, they probably are going to have the same money or financial problems with you. Now, is it possible that you can meet somebody who went through a bankruptcy and they're fine? Yes, really, you can. But in all of these matters, it's not what has happened. The question is what they've done in the present to change themselves. People who take ownership for whatever it is in life, those are good people, unless there's some other stuff wrong, as we're going to talk about later, to possibly build a relationship with. We need people who take ownership. Another major problem, besides not asking enough questions, is that in relationships we make premature compromises. We let go of, we forget, or we somehow push away from our values, the core beliefs, the things that we really believe in. The danger in premature kinds of compromises is that we lose our own sense of our identity. We try to be like someone else in order to accommodate him or her so that we can have that relationship. Let me give some common examples of ways that people compromise values. They allow themselves to be pressured into having sex with someone before the person really feels ready. We guys really have that problem, you know. These women put the hit on us and we don't know what to do, right? So we get into a physical relationship when we know we really shouldn't, but we do it anyway, you know. Believe that, I'll tell you another. We get pressured into sex, we get pressured into an intimacy of relationship that is not warranted by the relationship. Another way that we compromise our values, we make premature compromises, is we don't speak up to our partner about what we believe is wrong. We don't share what we really believe and what we really feel. We just kind of leave that aside because, again, we don't want to make this person uncomfortable. After all, we desperately need this relationship. I have a lady who just got married because she told me, this was 2 days before the wedding, I don't think I'll ever have the opportunity again. So I better marry this person. And, you know, it's terrible. We try not to do this, but in the office we're taking bets on predictions. When will this go down? My secretary is winning. I'm losing so far. Also, again, not disclosing beliefs that may have to do with politics or religion. We compromise those things. We also participate in activities that we normally avoid. A woman or a man has never drank before, but in meeting him or her now starts. The person may use drugs. The person may start watching pornography or something that just doesn't fit for him or her in order to get the approval of somebody else. It's really a mistake. Also, there are people who, under any circumstance, will go along with family matters, in relationships with which they are uncomfortable and which do not suit them. Every relationship requires sacrifice, but these aren't just sacrifices. These are things of importance that we brush aside. I promise whatever premature compromises we make in a relationship are going to be things about which we will not want to compromise later. So we need to think very carefully about our premature kinds of compromises. Okay, another thing that we want to talk about besides premature compromises have to do with character flaws. Flaws in relationships that generally, when these occur, the relationship is not going to work. Now, can it? Yes, if you want to work on that the rest of your life with a partner. So if you marry a handicapped person, if you can deal with the particular physical challenge of that individual, okay. What I'm going to share with you now are flaws that are not easily treatable. They don't go away easily. If you have somebody who is involved in these things or who has not distanced him or herself from these kinds of things, you need to know that the relationship most likely is in trouble. Again, I do these seminars on a regular basis. I'll have somebody come up and will talk to me and say, our relationship really did work, even though you said we had this particular character flaw in it. So, I indeed will stand corrected. I'm just sharing with you the majority of these don't work out. People who have addictions, any type, sexual addiction, an alcohol addiction, a drug addiction, a pornography addiction, any kinds of obsessive compulsive behaviors that seek to put this person in trouble or make him or her less than a well-functioning human being. Can people marry folks who've gone through 12-step programs and things are fine? Yes. But I want to give you a rule. In the matter of addictions, nothing means nothing really for final relationship without about 3 years of sobriety or 3 years ceasing that activity. And the minimum there is 90 days. I'll tell you, Russell's a great guy. He drinks a lot, but listen, he's been going to AA now for the past month. And that's great, but you need to wait and see whether that month turns into 2 months and 3 months and 4 months and 5 months. These kinds of addictive behaviors are very difficult to get under control, and time tells the truth about them. Also, people who have an impossible struggle with controlling their anger. Whatever way that acts out. It could be even socially withdrawing from others. Men typically do that. They will withdraw as things become difficult. And of course, other people who are rageaholics tend to hit things they shouldn't, scream and swear and yell, and act in ways out their anger that seems to indicate he or she is out of control. Anger, rageaholism is not an easy thing to undo. If somebody is very angry, you need to be convinced that he or she has a way to work through that anger successfully so that other people don't get hurt as this person acts out rage. A tough one. So look at people carefully who are very, very angry. Angry fuels lots and lots of misbehaviors. A third, and this is just an interesting one, is victim consciousness. This is a major thing, and many people seem to miss it. Victim consciousness has to do with, I am a victim. I lost my job because the boss is bad. I didn't finish school because the teachers were cheating me. I wasn't able to do this because this one did that. I wasn't able to do that because this one did something else. People who are always victim, please take this to the bank. People who play victim are really aggressors. Know that. They get a lot of power and control and manipulation out of being the victim. I've just have these insatiable problems to do drugs. It's my mother, She was an alcoholic. And now I've got it. And what a struggle. Do you hear how that's a victim consciousness? Is there some truth in it? Yes. But you want to look for that pattern of victim consciousness. Okay, another one is sexual dysfunction. And I'm not talking about impotence here per se. I'm talking about anything that you feel is kind of off the beaten path, strange, or makes you uncomfortable, and especially that operates out of the fidelity of a relationship. something that operates out of monogamy. Sexual dysfunctions are very, very, very difficult to treat. I've worked in this area for many years. I think I have a particular expertise in dealing with people in that area of dysfunction. And I just want you to know, if that's a difficulty up front in a relationship, it probably will always be a difficulty. It's a difficult one to overcome. Another is somebody who's like 38 going on 16. People who are immature and just haven't grown up. Do you really think they'll grow up for you? In general, people who are very immature tend to remain that way. Again, they can change, but they tend not to. Also, another fatal flaw, so to speak, are those who are relationally or emotionally unavailable. He's a very loving guy, but he really doesn't talk to us very much. I mean, if you can really get his attention, he's okay. People who are unavailable remain unavailable. They tend not to change that particular aspect of personality. In fact, there are personality disorders that connect with and have to do with emotional distance, and they're very tough to change. Another person that you probably want to take a second look at is one that has not recovered from past relationships, hasn't learned anything, has not worked relationships through. Again, if a person has not had any good relationships in life, why do you assume they're going to have that with you or me? And also people that have very deep kind of emotional damage from childhood that affects a relationship are something else that begin to take a great impact on a relationship. I'd like to give you at this time 3 predictors, 3 things that you can look at that spell good relationship. The first is that the person has had a reasonably happy childhood. That is a wonderful predictor that the person knows how to have good relationships because he or she's experienced that in the family of origin. A second is that parents or somebody somewhere has modeled a good marriage. This is very sad. As I go out, and I'm frequently invited by different schools to talk about marriage and family in the 1990s, and I'll ask like a group of college freshmen, how many of you know of a good marriage? And a young man raised his hand, and he said, yeah, I really like a lot the parents of Beaver Cleaver. It looked like they had a great one. June and Ward. That was a good one. And some kids said Ozzy and somebody else. I can't remember. No, I remember it. The person didn't. That's sad. You ask about the number of divorces in their family, and they're just one after another. They have no sense, no idea of what a good marriage is. Think about primetime TV. How many good marriages are modeled there that are realistic? How can you ask people to do something that they've never seen done or very rarely done? Have a good marriage, Susie and Sam. Really love each other all your life. But they don't have anybody to look for to model that. And that's very, very sad. So we're talking about predictors of a happy relationship, a good relationship with one's parents. One has in fact seen a good relationship. One has a good model of appropriate relationship. A third, and this is a little more funky in some ways, is a quality relationship with the opposite sex parent. In other words, if I go out with a female, she should have had a good relationship with her father, and that's a good predictor that she can have good male relationships. Or a young man with his mother. See, one's whole paradigm or one's whole basis of relationship is formed by that connection between mom and dad. It's very, very important.